Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So let's have a 420. And this particular 420 is going to be interpretation. At least what I think their interpretation is. Wonder Woman. Feminism in Wonder Woman. The Mighty Woman. Do you remember I did this video? She said, this is a year of woman. Uber woman. Uber woman. Blaze, what if you got one? Blaze, what if you got one? This will be a pretty interesting conversation, I think. We went to see Wonder Woman today. And I told my wife I was going to do a 420. And I said, I am going to talk about feminism in Wonder Woman. How it's Wonder Woman up against this male system that she's like, whoa, wait, too much, man, too much. But I'm going to prove her wrong and I'm going to make my argument anyway, despite her negativity on the topic. So, Wonder Woman is a god. Literally, she's a god. I'm not talking about just the way she looks. I'm talking about her in the cinematic universe. Now, I don't know how she was in the comic book verse. And look, there may be spoilers. I don't know what I'm going to say. So, just be aware of that. This is a 420. All of it comes off the top of my head. So Wonder Woman, for the most part, in the cinematic universe, was a god. Zeus was her father. Now, I don't know what it's like in the comics, because I didn't follow Wonder Woman in the comics, but in this particular case, she's a god. She's a god that doesn't know she's a god. Now, a god in the sense of Ares, Zeus, all these people, Prometheus, I think Prometheus was a god. She's on an island of women. There are no men on this island. This island is kept away from all civilization. So all she knows are other women. All these women are warriors. They are warriors. Like, they kick ass in a way that just kicks ass by itself. Like, I'm trying to get across how badass these women were. Think of Xena, the warrior princess, and think of a bunch of Xenas. Now, her being a god, she didn't know she was a god. At some point, of course, she's trained and everything else, and she became Wonder Woman. But not necessarily realizing that she has godhood, just that she's powerful. She goes out into the world after meeting a man. He's handsome. He's Captain Kirk. She meets him. And you're a man. Yes, I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm above average man. Eventually, they go out into the world, the male-dominated world. She leaves the island of women. She gets strong, meaning she can kick ass when she needs to kick ass. And yes, that man was a soldier who brushed up against her shores, but she can kick his ass too. She's a badass. She goes into a male-dominated world, though. Tanks and armies and all of these ego-driven energies, these things of war and destruction. And she tries to make her way in the world because she realizes, I need to kill Ares. Ares being the god of war. Supposedly her uncle of some sort. Now, here's the catch. She's already in a male-dominated world with tanks, bombs, ships, war, all these things that are male-dominated. The island itself, even though these women were warriors, they were still women. Meaning it wasn't a level of hardness associated with the women themselves. They were still feminine, but they could kick ass. It's the melding of energies at that point. This aspect of womanhood that's compassionate and that's unabashedly a woman. Your mom, your wife, your girlfriend, providing they're loving, but this quality that men aren't necessarily good at giving. There's still that. But they can fuck you up. It's a melding of energies. Now, they go out into the world in some degree complete within themselves based upon how they live on the island. Meaning, is this movie trying to get across this thing of feminism? Needs to be, and look, I'm a guy saying it. You can tell me to go fuck myself. But I'm going to say it anyway. It needs to meld those energies. Meaning, it needs to be militant, but at the same token, full well understanding that this idea of compassion and loving is an aspect of your character. Any diminishment of that is somewhat of a diminishment of what it means to be a woman, meaning from a natural position. You are naturally that way. You're naturally that way. But that's a good way, if that makes sense. The avenue or the world that she as a woman was going into was male dominated. These guys were at a war with one another. She's leaving an island of compassion, of it's trying hard to get across what it is. But that's not the world to which she finds herself. In many places, she's excluded. She's looked down upon in this particular world. She didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to her. Now, that's a perfect response. It's like, wait a minute, why are these people acting this way? The most natural thing in the world is to say, well, I'm equal to these people. Hell, I'm better than these people, but I'm equal to these people. We should interact on terms that are fair and represents my worth. But the world itself, the system to which she was going into, did not agree. Regardless of it not agreeing, however, they needed her. She had skills to which they needed. Now, during the term, I think it was World War II, where the United States was making all these tanks and everything else, and all these men were going off to war. Women. They needed the women. Those women were working. Now, in this particular case, she's going into this male-dominated world. She's going into these military bases, like the main pride of maleness. If you wanted to look at the male ego, or at the very least the cartoon degree of the male ego that we ourselves can form our men into. Because understand, the men can be any way you want them to. Or people in a society are not fixed items. Societies can have all sorts of values. We just so happen to land on this particular value set. Other societies had different values. The Native American societies had very different value systems in the way that they dealt with their organization and their particular community. This is not the only way to organize ourselves. That's all I mean. But she's in the military base, which is, from our standpoint, from our context, that primal male energy at that point. And she's telling these guys, you guys are cowards. You guys should be out there with your guys. You guys are behaving in a particular way that's abnormal to me, because they were. Anybody who looked at what was taking place would say, you guys are fucking crazy. Now, the people within the context, just like people within a dream state, don't realize they're in a dream state. They believe the context to which they exist is the only context. And so, that woman, why is this woman in here? Well, that's their particular context. They look down on that particular woman. There's no reason to. I'm sure they came up with some reasons to, but they did. That's another human being. That human being has value and worth just like you have value and worth. And your worth does not exceed hers. So if you're trying to find some way to diminish her, that's on you. That's your conception of the world. So she didn't have the conception of the world. She had value in herself. She did not find any way necessary to diminish herself in a sense of who I am. These aspects of myself that are compassionate and yet violent. And every bit as equal as to the people I'm dealing with who are trying to make me unequal to them. She has a perfect response. This makes no sense. These people are nuts. Yeah, you would think that if you went into a context where the people are looking down on you for you being you, and better yet, you don't even see it. Meaning, you're like, these people are crazy because you don't understand that they're looking down on you in that particular way, because you have value and worth within yourself to just not even see their reality. If that makes sense. This is kind of what I'm going with this. Dealing with this male-dominated world, she goes to the main source, Aries, god of war. Now, Aries in astrology is represented by the male symbol. It's that aspect of the chart that's aggressive energy. When the energy of Mars goes into a planetary system, or it goes into a particular house set, that house gets a lot of energy. Depending upon the planets that planet hits into, put it this way, it's always aggressive. That's all I'm saying. Now, this astrological thinking, I had studied it for a while because I don't understand this context. I don't understand this reality. Because I don't understand this reality, I'm open to pretty much anything. The question is, how good is it at evaluating your world? That's the only thing I care about. I don't care about this thing of just automatically discounting it. But I don't believe in it, if that makes sense. That it's this thing of my chart is accurate, so I believe in my chart. When I see charts that is okay, this chart seems representative of the individual, then yeah, I believe in that. But it's not a science. I mean, a lot of this stuff is interpretive, which means it's crapshoot. I mean, and not for everybody. Some people are better than others. All I'm saying is I don't have this immense belief in it like some of the other people do. My chart, however, is accurate. My chart is accurate. And as I look at my chart, there's a lot of stuff I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing. And yes, that represents me pretty damn well. Now, this could be one of those biases where you're like, the subjective interpretation pushes you in a particular way because you may want to believe a certain thing. That may be true. That may be true. All I'm saying is there's certain quirks and everything else about my particular way I think, my ego, all those things. Even in relationships, they're there. They're there. So that being said, in the chart itself, it's male energy. It's an aggressive energy. She's Wonder Woman going to fight male energy. Come on, this is so over the top. Now, as she fights Aries and she beats Aries, it is the year of woman. Thing is, the male thing still persisted, meaning that didn't stop that war, at least not overnight. At some point, it did stop it, but in killing Aries, she ended this male struggle of world supremacy with one another. Now, she didn't end it forever, of course, because War II happened. But at the very least, in this particular one, the reconciliation was a peace treaty was signed. That peace treaty, Treaty of Versailles, Treaty of Versailles, ended up causing a war that nearly quadrupled the number of dead people that were in this war. And this war had killed up to 10 to 12 million people. She stopped the war, but she started a bigger war. And I'm not saying the Treaty of Versailles wasn't her fault. I'm making this point that men themselves, you didn't need Aries. Men themselves behave in a particular way. Women have a particular way about them that's not that way. Women would have, I'll put it this way, I'm not necessarily saying they're, infallible in this regard. That's not what I'm saying. Anybody's fallible. I make this point that there needs to be a temperance. There needs to be a blending of energies in a sense. In this respect, Wonder Woman to some degree is a blending of energies. Dominant, male, in that sense, I can beat the shit out of anybody, but immensely compassionate in the way she looks at the world. Oh, I want to help them. I want to help that person. I want to help that person. I got to help these people. I got to protect these people. Think about the women in your family. Think about how they act. Now, I'm not saying everybody acts that way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm going with the archetype in a sense. Meaning, she is representative in a sense of, if you're talking about modern day feminism, I accept my womanhood. Full on. I accept it. I accept that I am more compassionate. I accept that at times I can be somewhat more emotional, or at the very least have the ability to connect emotionally better than other people. I accept I may be frazzled at times. Fair enough. I am a woman. That's what I am. Those things are positives. Those things are necessary. Believe it or not, those things are a plus. At the same token, I can accept this aspect of me that can be aggressive. That can essentially take care of myself and not necessarily diminish these other aspects of womanhood to accommodate it. The most interesting part in this is when she has sex with Captain Kirk. I can't think of his name. I'm calling him Captain Kirk. Fuck it. Now, sex involves surrender. I'm sorry, it does. So, does that also mean that some degree of womanhood is being okay to surrender? Like, I'm making the point that these things aren't necessarily negatives or bads. In fact, to make those things look like they're bad essentially diminishes what you are. The natural thing that you're trying to represent is the natural thing. What are my natural traits? Those natural traits are what I would argue are feminism. They aren't to be run away from. They aren't to be hidden or pushed to the side. Those things are what you're trying to represent. You don't have to be any particular way. We are who we are. That's kind of the point I'm getting at. If you're more compassionate, fuck it, be more compassionate. If you look at the world in a particular way that has a particular lens associated with it, that's softer, you don't think that that's a necessary thing. Now, I'm making this point that look at the world around you to which you find yourself. You don't think compassion is being necessary. And I'm not necessarily saying that feminism today or women today don't necessarily see it that way. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to get across this thing that sometimes certain traits are diminished in order to participate in a world that's somewhat cold. And I'm saying part of the way of warming that world up is to have that particular compassion, an element of that particular world. Don't you think legislatively, being more compassionate, we would have a very different society than what we have? That's what I'm getting at. I'm making this point that Wonder Woman had this aspect of her of, yes, I'm strong, I am also compassionate. I can be both of these things. These things are not in conflict with one another, or at least they don't have to be. I can kick ass when I need to, but at the same token, I can be compassionate when I need to. I would argue this world needs both. I would argue this movie, to some degree, is kind of strongly making this point. I can beat the shit out of any male obstacle that I need to beat the shit out of. I am Wonder Woman, goddammit. Wonder Woman. But at the same token, oh, look at the baby. Look at the baby. Oh, I need to help that person. That woman needs my help. These people need my help. These people are getting murdered. They're getting slaughtered. I need to do something. You can have both. You can have both. You're not diminished for having both. The scale is sometimes set as if it's a male scale. Well, that's not your scale. It's not your scale. Your scale is whoever you are. I'm making this point that when somebody says I'm a feminist, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. I'm saying that if you're going to have any meaning to it, define it. Make it specific. Otherwise, I have no clue what that is. I would argue I am a feminist in the sense that I find you to be complete equals. I don't think I'm better than you. You're not better than me. We're human beings. Period. Now, I don't know what any other definition of feminism that go beyond that or less than that. But I would argue that that should be the point. That should be the point. I mean, is there some other point? Like, can I say I'm a feminist or I'm not a feminist because I think there should be more? No. If I think you should be completely equal to me and you should have all the rights and everything else accrued to you that I have, meaning the same pay, the same everything, it should be equal. And that just should be equal from a legal standpoint, from a human being standpoint. What else is there to give? I don't know what else is there to give. If I say I'm a feminist, I'm saying I'm a feminist because I see you as a person. Now, I don't know what the other person means when they say that, though. I'm saying define it. Make it real. I would argue that Wonder Woman is making this case of, yes, you can be feminine and strong. Both of those things are in perfect harmony with one another. That's what I would argue the movie is making this point of. I could be wrong. Let me know. Let me know what you think. I could be perfectly wrong on this. But that's the way I perceive the film. Or that's the way I came across the film. Just from any background of astrology. That's the first thing is, oh, Aries, male energy, she's leaving a woman's island. These are the things she's encountering. This violent, dark world of men. That's essentially the way it comes across. The people she's coming to contact with are men when she leaves that island, because those are the guys who are fighting. And she finally murders Aries, the man himself. I'm just looking at how she acted along the way. She was compassionate. She was feminine. And this is the last part. Sex involves surrender. That's I will make that case. Sex involves surrender. From a biological standpoint, sex involves surrender. You can come up with some kind of thing where a woman is more dominant. That's okay. But if there's something going into something, it comes across as just being more dominant at that point. But I guess the point I'm making is, but that's not a negative. Like, I don't want this idea of Yeah. Maybe I'm going too far into this. I'll leave it. I'll leave it at that. Just going way in the weeds, and I don't want to say anything. It's like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? This guy is talking about vaginas. So let's stop. Let's stop. I know when to stop. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, subscribe. You can always support the work through Patreon. Thanks.